Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. First and foremost, Eric H526 and Luke St. Martin, if you could let me know who gave the first super chat, I would be greatly appreciated. I can't see it for some reason. I can't see it on my screen. But to my super chat, thank you. I don't have $20 million. They might have 50 now, but I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding to get money out of politics. So to the people who support my work on Patreon and on the Super Chat, you allow me to do this, and you help me do this every evening at 9 p.m. So this is becoming a really wonderful tradition, and I'll be doing live streams 9 p.m. Pacific every evening from here until past the election. And President Trump's going to win, and I'm going to explain with some of the biggest reasons. This is going to be a very important segment. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you very much for being amazing moderators. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 links that every person supporting President Trump, or just, I love when Democrats say, this is nonpartisan. These are nonpartisan issues. It just so happens that reality is partisan. Reality happens to be partisan because you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, you look at insurance claims and losses for property damages and property loss, and you look at, in aggregate, where most people have lost their lives. All 3 statistics or indicators, or all 3 very important all 3 issues linked to the election happen to favor President Trump and Trump supporters and people voting for Trump. Let's just start with the pandemic. New York and New Jersey, we'll just start. New York and New Jersey have, in aggregate, the most lives lost. And you add in California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, you are approaching half of all the lives lost. You can add Connecticut and Maryland, but New York and New Jersey have, and God bless the people in New York and New Jersey, the best people. New York and New Jersey have close to 40,000 Americans who have lost their lives. Kathy DePoy, thank you. Kathy DePoy, thank you so very, very much, Kathy. I wanna thank you a lot more in a couple of seconds. I just want to talk about this and just thank you for your generosity always. But New York and New Jersey are not run by Trump supporters. New York Southern District is essentially an extension of the Democratic Party that always investigates its direct political rivals to interfere in the election. Go to the New York Times. I am quoting the New York Times. Pandemic U.S. cases. Pandemic in the U.S. latest map count and case count. And you can actually use the name of the malady. But here, New York, New Jersey, California are the top 3 states in terms of life. Now, California is actually doing a lot better than New York and New Jersey. But you have to understand, Texas and Florida have about, 20 million more people than New York and New Jersey combined. If you combine Texas and Florida, because if people say, well, you know what, New York has a lot of people. Well, Texas has more people. Florida has more people. If you combine Florida and Texas, it's a little over 20,000 lives lost. You combine New York and New Jersey, it's 40,000 lives lost. That's not Trump's fault. Now, if you look at the New York Times article that has all the top states in aggregate of lives lost. So most Americans have lost their lives in about 8 to 10. Over half of all the lives lost in the entire country of 50 states are in 8 to 10 states that are blue, run by Democratic Party governors. Now, if you look at the unemployment rate, the lowest unemployment rates in the country and the lowest number of lives lost in the country in aggregate are in red states. And the least amount of property damage and loss are in red states. The greatest amount of property loss and damage, according to insurance numbers, this is a Claims Journal, it's an insurance publication, are of course in blue states with cities run by Democratic Party mayors and within states run by Democratic Party governors. Nicole, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. But all you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go and look. The pandemic total in aggregate of lives lost: New York, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Michigan. This correlates to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren's state, is number one with 16.1% unemployment. Then New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Illinois, and then you have Oregon down there. But Massachusetts has 16.1% unemployment. That's the worst unemployment rate in the country. In the entire country, it's Elizabeth Warren's state. Gee, I wonder why, since she's known to be such a champion of progressive economics and progressive values pertaining to the economy. She has the highest unemployment rate in her state. Why? New York. I mean all Democrat. All Democratic Party. All you have is Democrats. Second in the nation, 15.9% unemployment. You want to talk about Trump's America? Utah, 4.5% unemployment. Nebraska, 4.8% unemployment. Idaho, 5.5% unemployment. Kentucky, 6. I'm going to start like this every single. I might start like this every single live stream, every single upload. Go look, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to look at the statistics, and it's not. These are facts. They can't be refuted. If you want to try to add context, go ahead. I don't know what nuance or context, or I don't know how you can paint this in a positive for Democrats, but Iowa, North Dakota, Missouri, these are all places with the lowest unemployment rates. Wyoming, Kansas, Georgia, these are places with the lowest Alabama, the lowest unemployment rates. Massachusetts, 16.1% unemployment, 15.9% in New York. Lisa Lister! Lisa, thank you very, 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 very much, Lisa. Lisa, thank you. Nicole, thank you. Lisa, thank you. Kaylee! Illinois has been overcounting. I watched them basically. Wow. Kaylee, we probably won't touch upon. We just found out an interesting statistic regarding the pandemic, and the percentage of cases where the life lost was due solely to the pandemic, and it's pretty shocking. Kaylee, thank you as always. Lisa Lister, thank you as always for watching. Lisa, thank you for watching since the beginning, and thank you for always being such a strong supporter and for your generosity over the years. Lisa, thank you. But Lisa, Kaylee, Nicole, and everybody here, Kathy, the pandemic, New York Times count. Lisa, thank you again so much. And you all help me do what I do. And it's all right there. Reality can't hide. Most people in the country see exactly what you see and what I see. That's why President Trump is going to have a decisive victory. And it'll be against Hillary Clinton. You watch. If it's against Biden, I'm not even going to worry. Clinton, I would worry. She could win. But pandemic in the U.S., latest map and case count. The states with the most lives lost are Democratic Party run states, and you look at Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey has a 13.8% unemployment rate. Pennsylvania has a 13.7% unemployment rate. California has a 13.3% unemployment rate. Illinois has an 11.3% unemployment rate. New York and New Jersey have the most lives lost, and they have the highest unemployment rates in the country. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California are in the top of the country for lives lost, and the top of the country for unemployment rate. For unemployment rate. Go to the pandemic page again. New York Times. Total lives lost: New York, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics: Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Illinois. Illinois is doing much better than Massachusetts with an 11.3% unemployment rate and a triple B bond rating. It gets any lower, it's officially junk bond. It'll be the only state, I think, in the history of the country to ever have a junk bond status. Rating. Then you go from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you go from the New York Times. Lisa Lister, thank you so very, very much. Lisa, thank you as always. It really means a great deal to me, and I appreciate all support from everybody. Claims Journal, insurance publication, insured losses from let's just peaceful endeavors reach catastrophe levels. May rival record. The record was $1.42 billion, but for only one state, California, in 1992. But we have a really, really interesting map. And the map shows, gosh, where is this map? Okay. The map, there are actually two Claims Journal articles, but I have the map right here. Of the areas in the country where... Okay, so here it is. Insurers may rethink property risk after unprecedented losses from, I'll just use very, very peaceful protests. So they're actually going to, it's like the Democrats and the wonderful peaceful protesters have made them they're going to have to actually recalculate. They're going to actually have to recalculate. Like, insurance rates are going to go up because of all the peace. The insurance rates nationwide to protect businesses are actually going to go up. And these insurance companies have, like, the most up-to-date risk assessments always. Like, they're actually, you're actually going to have to increase, they're going to increase the likelihood that your business gets torched nowadays, which says everything you need to know about peace. But here, this is really interesting. This is really, really interesting. You go to the map here This is a map in the United States of the United States of America. Lisa and everybody here, this is a map from an insurance publication that shows all of the cities in the country that have the highest insurance claims because they have the most property loss, the greatest amount of property loss throughout the country. This is according to the claimsjournal.com by a journalist, or a writer named Jim Sams. This was July 6th. It's only gotten more peaceful since then. Everything's peace. Peace and love, peace and love. That's what Ringo Starr. Years back, people were sending him fan mail, like they wanted to write him back, and he's like, "Don't send any more fan mail. Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love." I forgot exactly what he said, but he was like, "Thank you for the fan mail, but I can't send it back. Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love." Anyway, the cities, ladies and gentlemen. Luke St. Martin, hello. Mike F. Mike F. I apologize. I would have to actually look up the profile before I give a shout out. But I had this one. My buddy was banned from Twitter. You give him a shout out. I would have to look up the profile. I apologize, just because they would. I have about a great number of people who would try to use anything they could in the most deceptive, demeaning, insidious manner just to hurt me, which is like every person on YouTube supporting President Trump. Everybody always has to kind of think that way. So I apologize, Mike F. I would like to, but I don't know the profile. I'm not sure if the last word in the profile is that I could give the shout out. I do apologize, Mike. But thank you for your support always, Mike F. And it's just because I'm trying to be as close as fly under the radar as long as possible, which I think that, what I only quote the most reputable sources. But Mike, I apologize. I can't exactly do that, but I do thank you so much. Just because I haven't really checked out the profile, so I can't give, I wish I could, but I can't give a shout out right now. But Mike F., I appreciate the support, and I apologize that I can't exactly just give a shout out without checking the profile, because again, there are people who are just waiting to twist anything into some kind of bizarre political victory. But Mike, thank you. Lisa Lister, thank you as always, Lisa, from day one. Thank you. Seattle, Portland, I'm reading the highest. Mike, I apologize again. I hope you understand. I'm reading the highest insurance claims and the greatest amount of property losses, where the peaceful protests and insurance impacts intersect. Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Minneapolis, Detroit, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Columbus, Nashville, Atlanta, and Miami. Most of these cities are in Democratic-run states. Most of these cities, almost all of these cities are run by Democratic mayors. So you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you go and look, and there's an estimate $1.4 billion property loss throughout the country. There are 180,000 lives lost throughout the country. there's a high unemployment rate on average throughout the country. You look at where are the highest unemployment rates? Where are the lowest unemployment rates? Where are the greatest number of lives lost from the pandemic? Where are the least? Which states have the least number of lives lost? Where are the greatest number? Where's the most property damage? Where's the least property damage? Where's the majority of the $1.4 billion in property loss? Where's the majority of the lives? What states have most of the lives lost in the pandemic? What states have the highest unemployment rate? And this is an important, very important point going into the election. There's not one person in the country, ladies and gentlemen. There's not one person in the country who looks at President Trump and said, my God, his words are causing $1.4 billion in property damage and 180,000 lives lost and unemployment to be record highs, to be record high in unemployment. Nobody is saying this. Just like nobody cared about Russian Facebook ads. Democrats speak to themselves, to their most loyal voters. The media, this is why 60% of Americans do not trust the media. Because they don't speak to most Americans. This is why, had George Floyd lived, and God bless him, like I can say he was murdered, like Eric Garner. And I support law enforcement, but I understand. There are times when things go way too far, and you have people who lose their lives, or lives are taken. But they wouldn't be talking about issues pertaining to justice and a reconciliation and all these issues Democrats and media are now obsessing over. And rightfully so. It took them a long time. They were obsessing over Russia. But they would not be talking about this if 3 days prior to George Floyd's life being taken, 3 days prior, and this is a fact also, 3 days prior to George Floyd's life being taken, you had Biden, the exhumed body, who is deliberately tanking his campaign and will eventually do so to get the rightful owner of the nomination. But 3 days before, he was with Charlemagne the God. And he said, if you have a problem voting for me or Trump, deciding who you're for, then you ain't black. This was 3 days before suddenly Democrats were at the forefront of racial justice. How can this be? Do you think that media and Democrats would be focusing on this? On these issues? Okay? They would not be. And Lisa Lister, thank you as always again. They would not be. They take advantage of whatever is most politically expedient, whatever gives them the most political utility. And Republicans do the same thing, but Democrats, it's a little bit different. They have the media on their side always. There has been more coverage of paintballs from Trump supporters. They've been apoplectic about paintballs than David Dorn losing his life. All-American Male. HA, a month ago, I asked if you thought the radical left would hurt people at Trump rallies and voting stations. You said no. What's your feelings now? I think they've changed a bit. They've changed a bit. All-American male, I mean, it's possible. It's possible, especially in Oregon and Washington. I've definitely changed my viewpoint on that. So, I have changed my viewpoint on that. But you look at All-American Male and Lisa Lister and Mike F. and everybody here. You look at David Dorn, a man who was defending in his 70s, an African-American man, a police captain, whose life was taken. Burnell Trammell, whose life was taken, murdered in Milwaukee. African-American man, Trump supporter. Do you think that Burnell Trammell and David Dorn, do you think that media has focused on them? No, not at all. Not at all. Their lives and their view and their sentiments do not bolster the Democratic Party and media message. In fact, they were living examples like millions, hundreds of thousands, and millions of other people of the greatness of this country, where you can actually believe what you want to believe despite what media tells you in terms of how you must view life. And these men, their lives were taken, and yet their lives did not really concern the media or Democratic Party activists. I wonder why. And these gentlemen and others were very brave to do what they did, to support President Trump, knowing you can't have a yard sign, you can't wear a hat, you can't wear a t-shirt without risking an altercation with the most deranged, unhinged Democratic Party voters. And these are the people who have empathy. Their viewpoint on intimidation is just unbelievable. And then they're saying that Trump is causing division. Can you believe this? How delusional they are. It's almost unbelievable. This bolsters my viewpoint that at any moment, Madam Secretary is going to take her rightful place. Pete Solano! HA in Portland. Trump supporter last night. Yeah. Complaining about Trump supporters using paintball guns. Exactly. There was a gentleman, and then the interesting thing about that, there was a gentleman in Washington, in Oregon, Trump supporter, who they say took out a can of mace. So the fact that his assailant took out a firearm, who, by the way, these left-leaning activists are not, many of whom have records and can't own or certainly can't own and or carry the firearms, but they say, well, it was self-defense because the can of mace. And then in Wisconsin, they say, oh, well, that young man, he was out for blood. But he was actually assaulted by not a can of mace. He was assaulted by a man who had a firearm. So what we're seeing now is the left really likes the Second Amendment. Really likes the Second Amendment. That's why, like Democrats, their message never resonates. Because they have so many people on their side that oppose their message. But you never get, like, it's pretty astounding, the hypocrisy within the span of days. You have a young man in Wisconsin, and they say, oh my God. And they're doing to him what they did to Nicholas Sandmann. So he's not only going to be exonerated, but he'll get very likely a good deal of money. Because media companies have the video. They have the video evidence. They know. But Wisconsin, armed supporter of Trump, attacked by armed assailants against Trump. It's, of course, the Trump supporters' fault because the reality of the story is completely swept under the rug, and they just go ahead and paint whatever they want to paint. Same story, except the Trump supporter now in Oregon does not have something to protect himself, and it was just a can of mace. And then when it was the young man defending himself from being attacked by assailants, it was, oh my God, look what he was doing. And in Oregon, it's, well, it's reciprocal because the firearm is used because a can of mace started it. They have no shame. They have no shame, and they don't look at the videos. And honestly, if it wasn't for Tim Pool and Steven Crowder broke down the videos. So I had a hard time finding the videos myself. But you can see within the videos, or at least the one in Wisconsin, that this is a Nicholas Sandmann thing all over again. And they're like, oh my God, he's a teenager and Trump supports. Like, yeah, you were spreading falsehoods and deliberately spreading things that are not statements that aren't true. What do you think's going to happen? He now has the same attorney that Nicholas Sandmann had. So, Lisa Lister, thank you again. So, I mean, the issue with you look at the statistics. There is not a person in this country. And Lisa Lister and everybody here, thank you again, Lisa. There is not a person in this country that looks at President Trump and says, my God, his divisiveness. You have to be really twisted to look at $1.4 billion in property damage, almost all of which is taking place in Democratic-run cities, in Democratic-run states, with the highest unemployment in the country and also the highest amount of lives lost because of the pandemic, and you say, well, this is Trump's America. It's not Trump's America. Trump's America is not New York. Trump's America is not New Jersey. Trump's America is not Illinois. That's not Trump's America. Trump's America is not Oregon. Trump's America is not Washington. This is not Trump's America. You can look at it. They don't like Trump. Trump's America is not California. And I live in California. I'm supporting President Trump. It's not Trump's America. If I go out with a Make America Great Again shirt, I'm going to get into a fight. And it's not going to be my fault. It'll be because of deranged people on the left who say, oh, well, we're going to, like, you have politicians who say, go yell at Trump supporters. Go yell at people working for Trump. It doesn't work. Should I go ahead and intimidate Democrats for what they did to Libya? Because President Obama had a miserably failed NATO intervention that caused the country to become a failed state with Two leaders vying for power 10 years after. Go read what's taking place in Libya. How come Lincoln Project people and Democrats never vacation in the countries that they've helped, that they've engaged in regime changes within? How come they don't? How come you don't see President Obama vacationing, or Biden or Clinton in Libya? You want to know why? Because it's only been chaos and mayhem since they intervened. What they did is worse than anything Trump has ever done. But that's okay to the establishment and to Democrats and to media. It's okay. Oh, you can't bring that up. That's just part of American foreign policy. Oh, President Trump is removing Americans and ending our war. The longest running military conflict in Afghanistan. Signed a peace deal in late February, early March. Crickets. Like the crickets, right next to where I'm speaking. You heard nothing because they don't care. That's why when people say, well, how could you vote for Trump? Well, obviously you don't know because you have no clue as to why anyone would care about ending America's longest running military conflict. You don't care at all. They don't care. They would rather have Mitt Romney or President Obama engage in another Libya than deal with President Trump's tweets. That's how deranged and sick and twisted and warped they are. And that is not hyperbole. It's the truth. That's why you have the link. They're so proud. I've never seen people. These are like truly the biggest imbeciles I've ever seen in my life. They're like, oh, look at what the Lincoln Project. I have people who I remember who opposed Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld in the early 2000s, sending me emails, Lincoln Project emails, and I emailed back. You realize who these people were, who got us into never-ending military conflict, and who also ran on a marriage amendment. And then they're like, Lincoln Project doesn't like Trump. It's like, that's why he's good. That's reason number 5,655 why President Trump will win. They're so clueless. They're so clueless. There is so much more support there's more support for President Trump than there was in 2016. There is a lot more support. Who looks at Democratic-run states and says, gosh, Trump's words are causing this? Who looks at people who set fire to police stations, not just in Oregon, but also in Washington, and who says, gosh, those Trump supporters? Nobody says this. Nobody says this. Nobody says this. You've had chaos. You have chaos and mayhem in what? 25 cities that I named. Around 20 cities. Mike F. I notice most office jobs are remote because of the pandemic until November. Why November? Exactly, Mike F. I guess I'm going to have to wait till I get a haircut. I'm going to look like Willie Nelson. I'm going to have hair down to my rear end. It's interesting. Why November? It's interesting. Why? I know. Why November? It's real. And also, Mike F., the state deficits continue to increase. Like we have now $40 billion budget deficit. New York has a budget deficit in the billions. And they had a $6 billion budget deficit prior. Mike F., great point. Pete Solano, I live in California, had a Trump bumper sticker and had to take it off because people are violent. They are violent. But they're also empathetic and peaceful. This is why nobody trusts media. Mike F., Pete, this is why nobody trusts, very few, Democrats look at CNN and they say, oh my God, that's reality. because they've convinced themselves that MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times, they've convinced themselves that they're so objective. This is the way Democrats look at media. ABC and NBC and CBS, and they're so objective that if indeed President Trump was a good president, then media would reflect that, wouldn't it? But media is apoplectic, so therefore Trump must be a real monster. I have old Nightline DVDs, and I can tell you Peter Jennings, Ted Koppel, David Brinkley. You can see these people. You can see these older. You can go and see how. You can even, there are DVDs, or you can look at the news coverage from the 2000 election. They're completely, the newscasters were completely dispassionate. You can't sense how they're disappointed that eventually Bush won. They're just dispassionate. They're unemotional. And they're just, they're like umpires when baseball existed. An umpire doesn't call a ball or strike with a smile. And if he does, then he shouldn't be an umpire. No one says, strike three. Yeah. No one says that. If you ever see an umpire saying, strike, then that's not a good umpire. You should probably never have that person calling games ever, 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 ever. Umpires call balls and strikes. And they don't laugh or, they don't show their emotions. They just call balls and strikes. But media, you can sense nowadays, not just from the cable stations. You can sense from the writing. I don't even get, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even get annoyed anymore. It takes a lot for me to get annoyed because I look at the headlines every single day about Trump. Every once in a while, I'll get annoyed. Old school dad, man! Seems like Trump sent a message today. Going to be another Monroe election, no opposition. I'm telling you, I think my prediction stands true. And I say this with all due respect to Tom Perez and the DNC. Your best candidate is waiting. The only person who does better, the only person in the Democratic Party who does infinitely better among black and Latino voters than Biden, of course, is Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton. What are you waiting for? Nobody cares, and they're propping, the entire American media is propping up Biden. It's not going to work. At least with Clinton, they can say, and she will be at those debates. I do not believe for a second that they're going to allow Biden. Pelosi even said. You know what? They don't even want him to debate. Old school dad man, thank you. But you have to they don't I see what every day, because it usually annoys me to it did annoy me to have to look at what the pundits on the left who said vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and who yelled about Medicare for all for 4 years, and now they're yelling about universal basic income. These are all Green Party issues. They should join the Green Party, but it's not acceptable to do so. It's not fashionable. And now it's just become fashionable not to vote for Biden, which I guess I'm 4 years too late on the left, because I was saying I wasn't going to vote for Clinton and they called me Satan's spawn. But it's fine. President Trump's a great president. He's fantastic. He'll win re-election. And when he does, it'll be the biggest I told you so in all of YouTube on this channel. And if it's Biden, it'll even be a bigger I told you so. But of course, when it's going to be Clinton, it'll be euphoric because she's the best candidate they have. And on H.A. Goodman's other channel. But it's like they don't. The way they work is appeals to authority. Any authority figures that any people within authority that disagree with them are suddenly, outside the mainstream, don't conform to the consensus, shouldn't be listened to, their voice is drowned out by the majority of experts. But there are a bunch of experts that disagree. But there's so many more experts that actually agree. You don't want to listen to those experts who don't agree with our experts. Well, there are studies that show, but there are more studies that show this. But no, there's more here, more experts, more studies. We have more experts, more studies. Well, Trump never worked with Russia. All the smartest people say he did. James Clapper, you call him smart? James Clapper said he did, and all the journalists say he did. So, and Trump is a criminal president. This is hilarious. What crimes did he commit? What crimes did he commit? I want to know what crimes he committed. Oh, here's I've taken a couple. So here are some of the things they're saying. This is from President Obama's campaign manager, who said that the Clinton campaign spreading a photo of Obama in African attire was the most shameful and offensive fear-mongering of either side in the election. This is David Plouffe. Morpheus! Will Hillary pick her own VP? No, I think it's going to be Kamala and Hillary and Kamala. Morpheus, it's Kamala Harris, and she'll stay as VP. And it'll be Clinton and Kamala Harris. I'm telling you. Keep hope alive because it's happening. This is very bizarre. Everything's very bizarre. And they're waiting to the last second. And I don't know how it's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be a calamity, God forbid. I'm not like the wrong Trump people, the imbecile idiots. But it could just be a meeting with Tom Perez saying, you know what, we need a much better candidate. And you already have Hollywood celebrities saying, oh my God. But Sparky, election fraud's rampant even without mail-in vote. That's true. But check this out. This is David Plouffe, who called the Clinton campaign's actions to start the birther myth the most offensive and shameful fear-mongering in the election. This is just the other day. Still hard to believe this gang of grifters and criminals are under the same roof as Lincoln, FDR, Reagan, and Obama. Lincoln, FDR, Reagan. This is like Lincoln, FDR, and then President Obama. Okay. Every night I left the White House, I looked back at the building in awe of all those who came before. Oh, my God. Years from now, no one will do the same for this awful crew. Yes, they will. I will, and everyone watching will, and when he goes 8 years, you'll have 60 million Americans who will always say, you know what? And media will change also. This is the left's moment to act like the 2000 Republicans and conservatives. The early 2000 conservatives and Republicans ran the Republican Party into the ground, and the Republican Party will never become what they were. Thank God. Hopefully, or else they'll just continue. They'll lose forever if that's the case. But Democrats now feel they have. Okay, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld had the media. They had a more conservative ideology nationwide in terms of a lot of issues. They had a lot of momentum on their side, and they ran it all into the ground because a lot of what their foreign policy was absolutely atrocious, but their mentality on a lot of things was backwards. Now you have Democrats acting in the exact same manner as early 2000 Republicans. They think they have the culture, or they definitely think they have the media, and they can't imagine a world where they don't run social media or Twitter, or they can't imagine a world where they can't cancel out people. But that world is not going to exist. That world is not going to exist for much longer. Okay? When President Trump wins re-election, the entire paradigm on the left is going to come crashing down. And it's going to come crashing down in the most epic manner, because ideas cannot be, you can't preach or force ideas upon 320 million Americans that are not rooted in logic or reason. You can't say Trump is an authoritarian when it's Democratic-run states and mayors of cities presiding over 1.4 billion in, and that's a conservative estimate. It's in the billions. The insurance claims, ladies and gentlemen, approaching 700 people on this live stream in the late evening. So we have the best live stream in all of YouTube at night. But the insurance claims for property loss nationwide, the Claims Journal article that I quote is for one state in 1992. So that was $1.4 billion of today's money in 1992 from the damage and the property loss and the chaos. We've had over 20 cities being torn apart. It could very well, easily be well over $10 billion in property loss. Because you had $500 million just for Minneapolis. But Trump said take a hike because they had $1.2 billion in municipal bonds or state bonds that they were. I mean, nobody looks at this, and like on Twitter, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, Trump wants this. Trump wants this division." Like, what are you talking about? Trump wants to foment this division. His words. It's like this is a re-election gift. Nobody sees, and then you have Democrats saying, unemployment, pandemic. Cities. I guess if you want this to continue, vote Trump. It's like, no. That's not the ultimatum. The ultimatum doesn't work that way, or there shouldn't be any ultimatums, and ultimatums don't work when it comes to, like I said, you don't see people trying to get married. You don't see a couple saying, well, honey, that's just too bad what happened to Fido. Wouldn't want that to happen to other creatures you love. I think you want to put that ring on that finger right there. Wouldn't want any other accidents to take place. That's just too bad what happened to your engine of the car. Who would have thought? Just too bad how your tires were popped. Gosh, who could have done that? Wondering if you marry me, things might just become back to normal. Sparky! Susan Rice was Obama's VP pick for Biden. But Hillary's got each click. Yes! Sparky, yes! I agree with you. Jimmy from Philly, yes. HRC is going to replace Biden. Just a matter of when. Sparky, thank you. I agree. They say like, Trump is a crime grifter, crime. It's like, well, you got a chance to impeach him. You didn't impeach him on any criminal statute. So what gives? What's the problem here? You didn't impeach him on a criminal statute. You could have impeached him on breaking the law. Then they're like, you just wait till we see what, till we see those tax returns. The government has the tax returns already. Then they would have been. You don't think that somebody would have been notified if there were like some kind of $1 billion gift to Putin or whatever. Sparky, 15% of fraud. 50% of fraud or less can usually fix an election. It wasn't enough for Hillary in 2016, so it'll be up to 110% this time. That's why they have all the lawyers ready. They're like, oh yeah, legal. It's interesting how they're so Sparky. Everything they do is predicated. The assumption for everything that they do is, well, we'll have the media on our side. That's why, they're so the election won't be called until November 4th or even November 5th. It's like, that's interesting. You're not worried that President Trump would actually gain momentum from last-second votes? How are you so confident? How are you so confident that Democrats won't lose votes when there are ballots coming in last moment? Oh, that's right, because you expect to cheat. Oh, okay. That's how we know Clinton is going to be nominee eventually after this Zoom meeting nomination becomes a thing of the past, because they didn't cheat Bernie Sanders in Iowa. How dare you say that? That was an application that was specifically designed to make everything more streamlined. This is why they took 3 days to find out who won a very small state in Iowa. Because the app was efficient and it was streamlined. You and your Michigas theories. Yes, Bernie, thank you for fighting. You are, oh my God. Bernie Sanders is Sparky. The establishment counts votes. Well, thank God President Trump won. He was able to win. You have more people. You have more people voting for President Trump. Then they come out with the most hilarious poll today. They're like, Jill Stein and Gary Johnson voters are voting Biden 2-1 over Trump. That is not possible. If you're a libertarian, that's not possible that you would vote for Biden, who was the antithesis of a libertarian. And it's also, and so from foreign policy to domestic policy, the antithesis. Then it's not possible that any Jill Stein voters, because Jill Stein voters now are voting Green Party. They're not voting. They're not going to vote suddenly Democrat, and they're not going to. They never believed. Gary Johnson and Jill Stein voters never cared, nor did they believe the nonsense that Facebook ads swung the election. So, and then you have Washington Post, they're swinging 2-1 in our latest poll. Trump's supporters, Jill Stein's supporters, maybe Gary Johnson's supporters, but probably not. They're not going to answer the phone. Yes, CNN, hi. Yeah, I have. NBC News? Yeah, I have about 45 minutes. I'm not doing anything. Nothing at all. Okay, yeah, let's. You know what? It's even, honey. It's a prompt. It's a computer. Press 1 if you have 47 minutes to speak. I'm going to press 1, honey. No. The future of our marriage will have to wait. It's an NBC News poll. Yeah. Because I voted Jill Stein last year. I want to help them with the poll. Yeah. If you voted Jill Stein, if the election were held today, who would you vote for? Press 1 for Monster Satan Trump. Press 2 for Joe Biden. Press 3 for none of the above. That's not the way it works. Twan win! Democrats are all about deny, delay, and destroy. Exactly. Everyone sees this. That's a great way of putting it. Twan is a great way of putting it. Sparky, establishment underestimated fraud leading in 2016. I think so. I think you're right about that. Twan win! Press 1 for the worst president of all time. A president that if you vote for, you're going straight to Hades. That's the way they think. Twan, thank you so very much. Twan Win, thank you. And it's just everywhere you look, it's like this obsessive, like, it just lets you know a lot of bad information. You're getting bad information. You know, there's a lot of information. There's a fact check. Trump said something that's not true. He's just lying all the time. Didn't you write a New York Times article? Why Clinton needs to be two-faced? Literally saying, gosh, you know, politics is made of sausage. Or sausages are made like politics. Or you know what I'm trying to say. Oh my goodness, I know about sausages. I can give you a whole treatise on sausages. Especially my own. Oh, get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about sausages, wieners. Oh, get your mind out of the gutter. I mean, politics is just so nasty. And sometimes you have to be duplicitous. This was before Trump has told 25,674 lies. Like, for example, he said that this was the best economy we've ever had when there was record low unemployment and record highs in the stock market and household median income was going up and had millions upon millions of new jobs and 300,000 new manufacturing jobs. And Paul, thank you. He lies. He just said, that's a lie. All you've done is lie for 4 years. Trump never worked with Russia. Well, we had every reason to be suspicious. No, you didn't. Why? Because journalists were pretty much working on the behalf of intelligence officials that wanted to flood the media with false stories. That's why. Why do you think Kevin Kleinsmith was indicted? Because he literally did not have enough evidence against Trump, so they had to fabricate evidence. That's why. They should have purchased like 4 dossiers. Nobody would have cared. He wouldn't have had to fabricate evidence. You look at Biden and it's like all throughout the country, people know it's not just gaffes. Everyone knows. There's nobody in the country that doesn't realize it's weekend at Biden's, that they're propping this man up. That's why I don't even pay attention to, that's why I know Hillary Clinton is going to save the day for Democrats. She's the only chance they have. But does anyone truly believe this man is empathetic? What is he known for? He's known for not being Bernie Sanders and not being Trump. That's it. That's just it. What is this man known for? What is he known for? What did he accomplish? The crime bill? Voting alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld? Turning Libya into a failed state? Getting less than 1% in Iowa in 2008 and getting kicked out of the 88 election because of plagiarism that he's accused of this year? Defeating cornflakes? Being accused literally of what Trump was joking about in a hot mic, this is how you know they're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They like Trump is he's bragging about assault. It's like nobody accused him of that ever. Nobody has ever accused him of that specific crime. You know who they did accuse of that specific exact crime? Oh, that's Biden. Then it's like, hey, you don't really have to believe, you have to vet. Come on now. But could you imagine saying that during the Kavanaugh trials? Hearings? And they really trials, but oh my God, you'd be canceled in 2 seconds. But then when it's not, there's no utility for believing, come on, we have to vet. You got to make sure the media looks at every angle of the story. Tuan Win, thank you. Tuan, thank you as always. Nicole! I'm in California. And so many people I know are voting Trump that it didn't before. Do you think he could possibly go red? I wish, but there's no way. Nicole, there's no way. There's no way, it would have to take, I'll put it, like if the shutdown continues into next year, which I don't see that happening because I don't think the state could survive. There's a possibility anything's in 4 years from now, but no. There's no way. And this is the interesting thing, Nicole and everybody here. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. This is the interesting thing. We've had 4 years of our ideology or our arguments or our viewpoints in the political arena. And they've had 4 years of the entire media parroting the corrupt intelligence officials and apoplectic Hollywood celebrities and Trump is an authoritarian, he's a menace, he's a horrible human being. If he gets elected again, there's no way that they can, they'll say, I know exactly what they'll say. Look, I know exactly what they'll say. They'll double down on the anger, possibly the violence. They'll say that they'll blame cheating. They'll scratch and claw. They will never give an inch. But see, that only lasts for so long. You can't lose 2 Super Bowls and then demand a Super Bowl championship ring. You can't continue to do that. So you're going to see when President Trump wins again, you're going to see. And it ain't going to be Biden, but let's say they're inept enough to go with Biden. Trump will have a mandate. Like, he'll win by such a decisive margin. He'll have a mandate where Democrats and media will have to look inward and they'll have to say, oh my God, like, they'll have to say, like, maybe it's us? The smartest, the people who possess the most wisdom will look in the mirror. The typical, hysterical, fanatical, apoplectic, seething, fuming Democrats will say it's Trump's fault and, oh my God, we've lost our democracy. It's like, no, the Democratic Party is the antithesis of democracy. Just ask Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein or Tulsi Gabbard. Anthony Perrone, hello, thank you, as always. They'll say, oh, we've lost our democracy, and it's your fault, and 60 plus million people are horrible human beings, and oh my God, we lost again, and it's Russia, and the Putins, and now it's voter suppression, and oh my God, the sky is falling, and they will not give an inch. We're the resistance part 2, and oh my God, and no, it'll be hilarious. And frightening. It will be the most If we lose, if President Trump loses, he can run again. Okay? Let's see. Grover Cleveland had 2 non-consecutive terms. Grover Cleveland was the only president to have 2 non-consecutive terms. President Trump, he could run when he's 85 and he'll win. If he has the same kind of delivery and the same kind of personality and the same kind of adherence to a value system, bringing home Americans, we're now reducing our presence in Iraq, ending Afghanistan. So this is exactly why I voted for President Trump. Exactly why I voted for President Trump. He keeps doing those things. Or, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there is a fantastic channel. I am, in love with this channel. She is absolutely fantastic. And it's a South Korean YouTuber. And she actually talks about U.S. politics, and she's absolutely brilliant. Her name is Kahiva. I will give you the link right now. She's just awesome. Everyone subscribe to her channel. She's absolutely fantastic, extremely, extremely intelligent, possesses a great deal of wisdom. Here's the link also. She deserves 1 million subs, so get her to 1 million subs. She has 172,000 subs right now. Get her to 1 million subs. She's awesome. Her name is Kahiva. So subscribe to her channel. She's absolutely fantastic. Here's the link again. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, the moderators. Definitely subscribe. She's fantastic. You'll really like her channel. But she has a great channel. Great deal of wisdom. And there are a lot of great channels. Tim Pool is fantastic. Stakes Exenhammer is fantastic. Anthony Brian Logan is fantastic. He's awesome. Kevin's Corner is fantastic. He's fantastic. He's hilarious and awesome. Amazing Lucas is awesome. Black Conservative Patriot is fantastic. He is amazing. He's on his way to 1 million subs, and he deserves it. He does a lot of work. HB is great. Really great. There are channels on the left that I still look at, but I won't bring up their names just because I'm like the Typhoid Mary of the left, so...
H.A. Badman likes you. That means you're horrible.
But yeah, I mean... Twan win! Presidents come and go, but we must fight to preserve our values and principles for generations to come. Exactly, Twan. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Cyan, hello. Thank you. Exactly, Twan. And I think that President Trump is really fighting for those values. I mean, the fact that he offends them so much is a beautiful thing. Because they're not really offended. They're using the pretext of being outraged as a political tool. And this is what they do. It's Twan, thank you so very much. This is what they always do. They utilize, let's say you have 3 or 4 policies or ideas from the Democratic Party or from the left. It could be Medicare for all. It could be universal basic income. It could be a right to choose. It could be, other social beliefs that perhaps are not completely mainstream, but they're becoming mainstream. Instead of just saying, here, this is what makes sense, this is logical, they take it to another level. The extreme is the following. If you don't agree with us, you're immoral. This is not the way the United States has engaged in politics. I mean, at least not since 1865. From 1861 to 1865, not only were you immoral if you didn't, but you were an existential issue. But it's never been the mainstream American politics, whether you were Republican or Democrat, has never been, you are immoral if you disagree with me. You are not a good human being if you oppose me. BCP posted a video on election fraud on Monday night. I'm going to check that out. Sparky, thank you. BCP, he's fantastic. Oh, there's also another great one. There's also another great channel. She's fantastic also. Really, really great channel. Her name is Exiled Lioness. She's awesome as well. Great deal of wisdom. So check out Exiled Lioness. I'll give you the channel here. But ladies and gentlemen, Sparky, thank you very much, Sparky. They've taken it to this extreme, like, you are immoral, I'm going to yell at you. If you don't agree with me, I'm going to yell at you. And you better believe that once I tell you how angry I am at you, suddenly you will change your viewpoint because my indignation is so righteous and I have the authority to judge you. It's like, I don't give a what you think of me. Why would I care? I don't know how many times I've been, luckily not many, but I've been like, this is hilarious. Like, I've known people and they're like, I'm just so disappointed in you. You're disappointed because I disagree with you? You might as well be disappointed that I think that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. So, if you want to pick Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem or LeBron, I'm not going to be disappointed in you. I'm not going to be disappointed in you. I'm not going to condemn you. You can think what you want to think. I don't care what you do. You can yell at me, and you can throw things at me, and you can insult me. I'm not going to change my viewpoint. I don't care. You can go ahead and, run down the street naked, you loony. And I wouldn't change my viewpoint at all. I don't care what you do. Democrats think you say, see how upset we are? It's like, yeah. What do you want us to do? You're a Trump racist. It's like, no. He's really bad at that. He's allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any other president. And notice the people calling Trump racist are actually either themselves more racist than they think, or they overlook true racism because of words. So what's worse? President Obama destroying Libya, turning it into a failed state, or Trump's mean tweets? And what's better? President Trump signing for the First Step Act, prison reform legislation, or the wonderful Kamala Harris, who had 1,000 cases dropped because of prosecutorial misconduct, because the crime lab technicians in her city or state were We're taking the evidence and snorting the evidence. Mike F. The left is done debating. They want to eliminate you from their perfect world. They want to definitely, they're done. Well, they don't want to debate because they can't win a debate. Mike, they can't win a debate. They don't want to debate because they don't want to have to defend their emotion. You can't really defend an emotion. That's all they have. You can defend a viewpoint. You can defend your logic, your logical reasoning skills, your critical thinking skills. You can defend a vantage point. You can't defend an emotion. I'm angry. And you can't defend things like anyone who votes for Trump is a racist, or Trump is an authoritarian, or Trump is a Putin puppet. These are not logical or rational statements. These are irrational, absurd statements that are not rooted in fact, and they are claims without evidence. They're claims without evidence. Oh my God, it's a claim without evidence. And you have the hall monitor fact-checking fools like, Trump said it was the best economy ever. It was the best economy ever. Trump said he's eating Rocky Road ice cream. He was really eating only 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream. There's no marshmallows! Okay, nobody cares. When Trump wins, they're gonna be like, you know what? This is the end of truth. All the CNN pundits who've warped and twisted everything. The MSNBC, the Washington Post, who has to give Nicholas Sandmann hopefully tens of millions of dollars. This is the end. That's it. We give up. We give up. We're giving you truth for 4 years. All we're giving you is truth, and you don't want the truth. So there goes the country. It's like, just because you lost, you think our future is dependent on on your warped definition of democracy? Democracy is dependent upon you losing, if anything. President Trump doesn't care about intelligence officials. You worship them. President Trump doesn't care about what media thinks. You worship them. President Trump doesn't care about people. Like Trump supporters they're not pulling yard signs from Biden because there are no yard signs for Biden. And if you bought one from Biden.com, you wouldn't say 2020 and it wouldn't say president. Hillary Clinton is going to be the rightful owner of the Zoom meeting nomination of 2020. And when she does, do you understand? I'm even expecting when Clinton becomes nominee, replacing the current nominee, and then it'll be like people will say for 2 days, can you believe what? Oh my God, can you believe? H.I. Goodman was right, but what? And then after 3 days, I'll take a 3-day victory tour, and that's it. Nobody's going to care anymore. Because you won't be able to say, can you believe? It'll be like, okay, that's normal. It won't even be like, I won't have my Hall of Fame acceptance speech, or it'd be like, it's like, I told you it's going to happen. Now let's just make sure that Madam Secretary doesn't win the presidency by voting, because she could win. Hillary Clinton can become president, I'm telling you, in 2020. Okay? I don't know how they're going to do it, but the switcheroo is coming. Because she's the best candidate they have. I'm telling you, when it happens, Hillary Clinton can become president. She has enough of a base of support around the country, believe it or not. Biden doesn't. If I'm wrong and it's Biden, which I won't be, but let's say I'm wrong, I'll be like, with party time. Party time. Believe me, I won't be sweating. I will be sweating if it's Hillary Clinton, because there's a chance that she could win. Trump will defeat Clinton, but there's a chance. But with Biden, please. Hey, Shemar, come on now, man. Come on, man. Oh, come on, man. Sparky. Dear D, thank you. Dear D, thank you so much. Thank you. Sparky, once the boot camp, Z Biker Gang, fine. The president come. Oh my God. I love you, Sparky. I love you, Sparky. I gotta delete that just because the word police, the thought police. Sparky, I love you. I apologize. I have to impose the Wally-Pop rule. Wally-Pop rule. But Sparky, thank you for the kind thank you for the kind sentiment. I actually had to, Sparky, and you'll appreciate this. I swear to God, just because I am so like uber safe and paranoid, and I had to delete, like, you can have I have a deleted words list that's like a lot of words that are you're not allowed to say, that like insulting words and demeaning words or whatever. I had to add the word heels and knees because I was like, oh no, this is not good. Oh no, the algorithm. So anyway, Sparky, thank you. Sparky, thank you very, very much. Wally popped. Eric H. 526. Luke St. Martin. Wally popped. Sparky! Mike F., I think one of these days. Mike F., though, California's tough because it's like New York. A Republican's like an endangered species. It really is, especially Los Angeles. Republicans are like the dodo bird. Pretty much an endangered species that almost extinct. Sparky, thank you. Come on, man. Elroy, hello. Oh, come on, man. Can this charade stop so we can start that? And I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of everyone here. I mean, we got, 700 people? We hit 700 people this live stream. And it's just an usual boring day in the election cycle. Boring, boring, boring. It's not boring in the evenings, and my uploads are pretty good in the morning now. But the only fun is talking to everyone here. All 600, 700, 800 people every evening. Every day is boring. Biden's like what was it, Punxsutawney Phil? If he comes out, sees his shadow. He's like Punxsutawney Phil. Oh my God, Biden came out. He saw his shadow. It's one more week. One more week of hiding. It's just Sparky. Glad you got a chuckle. Thank you. Thank you. Alf. H.A. Rabbi Shmuley. Love the name Shmuley. I have a very good friend named Shmuley. Alf, thank you. Sparky, thank you. It's just like, this is the most boring election of all time, aside from the $1.4 billion in peaceful property damage. Very peaceful. Oh my God, did you see those Trumpers with the paintballs? Oh, the humanity. Meanwhile, there's like complete chaos and mayhem. So it's just peaceful. Everything's fine. And Trump's trying to get you scared. This is what Biden said today. Trump is trying to get you scared. And then buildings are are set ablaze in the background. Sam, thank you, Sam. Thank you very much, Sam. This is the most boring election. This is why I know Hillary Clinton is going to save the day for Democrats. They have zero. Go look at your left-leaning pundit, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times. These are all these are all extensions of the Democratic Party. They're not talking about Biden. Nobody cares about Biden. And if they think that this is just a referendum on Trump, they will have the most epic melt. They won't even get close enough to cheat. You understand? Their whole philosophy is, we're not going to call the election on the 3rd. Yay! We have so many lawyers. Yeah. And we're expecting hundreds of thousands of ballots to count. Why are you so certain that everything will go your way? Why are you so certain that you will win with late-second ballot counting? Oh, that's right, because you cheat. Because you're expecting to cheat, and you're expecting media to just back you up like they always do. Did you see the Trump paintballs? Meanwhile, literally, Trump supporters have been losing their lives being taken from them, murdered, in numerous examples, and media is silent, completely silent. So, thank you, Joshua. Very kind of you. Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you. But we're just waiting for things to heat up. Going to make the biggest political call of all time. We're just waiting. We are just waiting. It's also going to be so rewarding. Nobody on the left will have any right ever to say I told you so. Even the people like this is the thing. Even the people on the far left, progressives, Democrats didn't win because they failed to adopt progressive messages. I would have been one of those people saying, you see, we lost again because, the establishment. It's not about the Democratic establishment. They just lie and cheat all the time. It's not that they don't adopt. They don't even have to adopt the progressive policies to win. But they lie and they cheat and they deceive all the time. That's the issue. Part of their lying and deception is the belief that they really care about Medicare for all, for example. They don't. They don't at all. Democrats don't. Many of the pundits who said vote for Hillary Clinton, at the end of the day, they just utilize that. They can't tell you how. Even Bernie Sanders can't tell you how they budget. And I say, well, he came out with a budget. Why hasn't he explained the budget? Do a Ross Perot, come out with a pie chart. How difficult is this? The rhetoric never corresponds to the actions. Their rhetoric never corresponds to their actions, ever. They're always it's always a calamity of epic proportions. It's always these apoplectic, hysterical. We have 11 years left before irreversible climate change. Well, then what are you doing? Are you passing any Green New Deal legislation? No, but it's an ambitious resolution. It's really ambitious. It's to get people, I love this, it's to get people inspired. There is nothing inspiring about the wonderful Congress people. Nothing inspiring. That's one of the things, honestly, Twitter is one of the best things to ever happen to President Trump. Nicole! 45 ACP. And you can you could pick a 1911 or 357. But I say 45 ACP. Nicole, thank you. I have a CZ97B. So it's a 1911 platform. And it's awesome. But just loading the 45 in the magazine is just actually, it's it's not just because it's easier to load, but it's easier to find. There's not a store, there's not a place in the country that doesn't have, 45 ACP. And I believe the 1911, they say that the 40 is more powerful, or there are studies. I don't know. I would rather have the 45. But 357 also for revolvers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Nicole, thank you. People, it's heating up. We have a nice little tradition going, and I will be here every night because, I used to have live streams, and I never used to have a set time, which was really dumb on my part. Really not smart. But just set your clock every night at around 9 p.m. Be here, 9 p.m. Pacific. To my viewers in other countries, be here. And to my viewers in the United States of America, thank you. Everybody, God bless. Lisa, Lister, Nicole, everyone here, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Lisa, thank you again very much. Nicole, thank you. Everyone, thanks to my moderators, Eric, H526, the regulator, and Quick Draw, Luke St. Martin, thank you very much. People, it's a countdown. Countdown. Anthony, thank you. Countdown to November 3rd. Be here on this channel and H.A. Goodman's other channel on November 3rd. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Be sure to check the upload tomorrow. And, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump's going 8 years. It's just a matter of how frightening the reaction is from the left. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very, very much. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Same time, 9